So today for my birthday, I'm 62 today. My son got me this nifty little detailing bench for sliding around the garage floor without hurting your knees. And I'm so excited about this. And I had wanted one of these for quite a while. But one of the things that I was thinking was, when I was shopping around, was I don't want to add more stuff to the workshop. I want to make it so that, you know, I want a dual purpose. So what I was trying to find, they don't make, is one of these little stools that you can tool around to do the low jobs, like working on the Volkswagen or working on detailing the wheels or doing something. And anything where you're like doing squatty work where you'd normally be bending your knees, that's really killing me. But I also, I do a lot of stuff at the workbench. So I have this nasty old stool. And this stool it needs to go, right? It's falling apart, it's been burned. But now I got two things, right? And you start adding things and it becomes a kind of a pain. So my goal today is to make it so that I can turn this into this, like a transformer, whenever I feel like it. And so all I really need is to gain about 16 inches of height. Currently it's, I think, what did I come up with? 15 inches, and you go up to another 16 and you get to 29. So you need to get 29 inches for 29 to 30 inches, right in that neighborhood, to get a bench, like a stool like this. So what I'm going to do today in the video is I have this old barbecue, these components from an old barbecue. I don't know if you're like me, when something gets replaced, I tear it apart and look for reusable parts, and these are the parts that I thought I'd ended up using again. Well, here I am reusing them. So I'm going to use these old parts from an old barbecue set and make another stool similar to this with just a flat surface that will match up with this. And so it's just going to be flat, like a table. I'm going to call it like a work surface. And it will match up with the area down in here with a little register with this little hole right here. And that way we can set that on the stool and it will become elevated. And we'll put some coasters on it so it can move around the garage. This one doesn't have coasters, so that's kind of a pain in the butt. So that'll give us the ability to have a sturdy, nice metal bench that we can even probably set an engine or transmission or something heavy on it. When you don't want to stool around on the low end, you can set it up on top of that, and you'll have a big stool. And at the very least, it'll give us the ability to stack store these two items and increase the productivity without having increased floor space. So that's the project today. Let's go ahead and break this down into components and start taking some detailed measurements before we head to the hardware store and get some materials. Hey, side note, you know, when you get new stuff, you got to take other stuff out. And so I decided I'm going to go through all my old components from the MG here and start listing them on eBay. This is my old wiring harness. You might want to say just throw it out, right? But actually, there's a lot of people who might see some value in this, whether it's just the connectors. You can see there's some actual connectors in here that will match up with your MG if you need. And or if you're one of those purists and you don't ever want to replace wires that aren't the right color, well, here, look. Here's a green with a yellow stripe. If you need a green with a yellow stripe, maybe that's valuable to you. So the thing is that this is garbage. I don't think I want to sell it for any actual value, but I'm going to put it on eBay and list it as used MGB wiring harness for $1. And if you pay the shipping, basically, then you get to have this, and you can tear it apart, pull the connectors off of it, you know, get the different color wires if you have a project and you need to have those specific kind of wires. It's burned out in some places. I mean, that's why I replaced it. It's bad. I'm not going to warrant it for anything, but you know what? It's salvage parts and it has some connectors on it. So maybe you'll see some value in that. If you, and here's a steering wheel, same thing. I'm going to put it for $1 on eBay. Here's my old exhaust manifold. The exhaust manifold, this thing weighs a good 5-6 pounds maybe. The shipping on this would be more expensive than the value of the product. So I'm going to put this on eBay for $1. You pay for the shipping, and if you see any value beyond that, I do have a GoFundMe page for Park Bench. I'm trying to get secured for my uncle who died last year. So you know, if you feel like you need to pay a little bit more for something, do a donation in there. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't hit the taxes or anything. And if you want to add the value, add it there. If you don't, just take it for $1, pay the shipping. I got a bunch of stuff like this I'm going to go through. These are just a couple things. So I'll put a post or a link to my my eBay page, and you can see if there's anything of any interest in there. But let's go ahead and hit the get this project moving forward. All right, so here's the basic framework of this secondary, we'll call it a table. It has a little counter base down here, some spaces for the casters to be added. So those were the original casters, but those have been thrown away because they were all weather torn and locked up. They didn't even spin anymore. But all this metal I thought was going to be useful, and then here it looks like it is going to be. So we got to get to 30 inches from right here, and the next thing is to figure out an interface between the bottom and that, so that it's going to be stable. We want to sit on it and wheel it around like it's just one unit. And I think that we can get that done because there's plenty of index with this bar right here and with this circle right here and another bar over here. If we fit something in there that fits snugly with all of those interfaces, then we should be good to go. Your own weight will connect it. Won't even need to put any fasteners or anything. So let's have a look and see what we're going to do here. So this piece looks like it's not going to work because if I connect that on there, it'll all be too big and I won't have any room for the wheels. If I put the wheels on and I orient it in the same angle as the existing wheels, it won't work. But if I go off at a 45-degree angle, you see how now the floating wheels will be floating in space, and the casters that are on the floor will be 45 degrees off. See that? So all I need to do now is to build an interface that matches these index points that I can fix to this this piece of hardware, and then put some casters on there. And you can see just stacking this up, we're getting pretty close. All right. So when you add another 4 inches of casters, a little bit of like an inch or two of the interface there, I think we're going to use a couple of wafers of 3/4 inch plywood right there to build that so it's custom and I can cut it to exactly fit. I think we'll be at that 30-inch point. Looks like we're closing in on a solution. All right, so let's check on the progress here. Here's the plan. So here I've got a piece of 3/4 inch MDX and a piece of 3/4 inch ply. It's just some scrap wood that I had. This was from that signage project I did a while ago. So anyway, this is sitting in the garage, some junk that I had. And so what we're going to end up doing here is with the MDX, I'm going to cut this into a circle. And that circle will be the tabletop. This piece right here is 11.5 by 14.5, and that matches the 11.5 here by the 14.5 depth. And I'm going to drill a hole to match that register there. And so that piece will be permanently installed underneath here. That will just be kind of an adapter. 11.5 by 14 inch with a hole in the middle. And that we'll screw that into place right into here, and it'll be permanent. This piece will be the tabletop that we'll use. It won't have a hole in the middle, but it will have little slots for these wheels. And the wheels will end up being the register marks. Now we may end up putting pegs with a couple of holes in it, but let's just see how that works. If we can set these wheels so that they become the pegs, so to speak, to hold everything together, then we'll have a good solution. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to have to cut a hole out of this big circle. So I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to do the jigsaw and clean up the edges a little bit, and then we'll mount it in place. All right, so I opted for an octagon rather than a circle. I may still go to a circle. I mean, there's nothing preventing me from doing that, but it was just easier to cut. So anyway, this is basically a mock-up. We're getting close in height. This is the bottom of the seats right down here. And so we want to get to 30 inches. Right now what we're at is about, I would say we're about 26 inches if you're looking at where your butt sits in that little groove right there. And we want to get up to 30 inches. So that leaves us for 3.5 to 4 inches of caster. So we can get some wheels to put on there on the bottom. I've taken the wheels off of this little scooter so that I can mark where these holes are going to go, and then we've got to cut custom grooves. We want those to be as snug as possible because they're going to be the registers that are going to set us in place so that it doesn't wiggle once we get it in place. So that's the next part of the project here. We're going to head off to the hardware store and get some hardware so that we can get some rollers on the bottom of this thing, and then we'll start bolting it in place, glue it to fit, paint it to match, and this will be a done project. All right, so there you go, one on top of the other. I got all the hardware installed, and you see underneath I used carriage bolts on the top so they're somewhat flush. There's no intrusion, so I don't have to countersink them. Everything's lined up on its appropriate locations. You can see also I got the elevation that I'm looking for. So this is I've already sat on it. It's very comfortable. Actually, you have a little place to put your foot while you're up there working too. So that's it's very convenient. All right, so one last little thing. We're going to want to be able to take this off anytime that we want. So we need to be able to leave the casters on. The casters are off right now, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark with a pen where this location is. And then I'm going to take each caster and set it into a hole that I'm going to drill right there. And that should give me the ability to create a profile of this corner right here. And so using that hole as a center point, I'm going to make it so that we can drop this wheel right into a hole, and then when you want to use it, you pick it up and off you go. So that's the next little project here. Let's go ahead and get that going. All right, so there you have it. This is before painting, obviously. I'm going to have to finish it up a little bit, but here's the unit sitting on top. It's really easy to sit on. Just sit on it. It does what you need it to do. It's just as high as this one. Same kind of thing, but this one here is kind of old and rickety, and I'm anxious to throw it out. So how does it work? Well, let's say I want to do some stuff on the workbench. Not a problem. I'm over here, I can do whatever I need to do. I can have my feet up, so I can just completely relax. Work on things, do something. This is really great, because if you're working on something for a long time, your back will start to get sore, your feet will get sore. This is excellent, and it's really easy to work with. Now, how easy is it to take it out and, let's say, maybe polish the wheels on the old MG? There you go. Right at the wheel level, I don't have to worry about this. Is what really kills me, is sitting like this and doing this kind of work like that. I'm just not made for that kind of work, and it really kills my knees. So this is going to be really great for me. I can work on getting things clean. I can work on stuff at waist level. I don't have to worry about it. When I'm going to put it back up, it's not a problem. Now, one of the things that I did have to make a change on is initially I was drilling these holes and I had them perfectly the right shape of the profile of the wheel. Problem with that idea is that the wheels don't always cooperate. They're always going different directions. So I had to make it a little bit bigger so I could get it so it would slide in. But I didn't want to make them so big that the unit itself would become unstable. So that was the compromise. There it is. Let's throw a coat of paint on this thing and see what it looks like. Little time-lapse action with the black paint. Remarkably, no dog hair on this one. Usually I get dog hair on my painting job. Here's some drips back here. I'm gonna knock them down. All right, we'll come back and have a look at that and finish up the video. All right, so there you go, finished project. All painted up and assembled. Plenty of room for storage while you're working on stuff. And if you need to work at the workbench, then you can get up on the bench and sit nice and comfortable without getting sore feet or a sore back. And if you're working on the car, you can work at a much lower level. When it's discarded, you can use this as a workbench. It's a very sturdy work surface. Will hold a lot of weight with these big casters. So anyway, there you go. That's the project finished. Have any questions? Throw them in the comments. I really like that stuff. Also, make sure that you check out my eBay. I'm going to be taking pictures of these spare parts. I got a bunch more over here in a box. I'm going to pull some of this stuff out. Check out my eBay. I'll put a link to that in the description. And we'll see if we can get rid of this and help clean out my garage. That's all I got for you this week. Cheers.